All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to begin by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the lesser great millstone who do well. Peace, blessing to the sincere Akim, many the elect, but you pushing his truth on the four corners of the earth, giving all diligence to make the calling and election sure. This is the brother Kwana from the Great Millstone Camp, Trinidad, coming once again to the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai to do our lesson, Lord willing, that edifying to the Lord's elect. And this was just a meditation where I was having, and I say, what, this might as well just do a lesson on it, right? And it's like basically going into, protecting that oil, this wisdom that we have, right? Because things that this will, could differ you, persuade you with joy in, you know, into forgetting your first love. And that is where scripture says in First John chapter 2 and verses 15, it says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And these is things that we have, put off, coming into this truth. You cast off that old man, as the scripture said in 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verses 17. It says, any man that is in Hamashiach Yahawashai is a new creature. So we are now taking in the engrafted word, which is able to save our souls, which daily, we fight against that old man because he's right there in our face. That fight is only over until Yahawashai come. And recently, our brother re-uploaded a clip from Apostle Tahar, right? Even one of the elder Yashawamba, and the statement that was given, to the spirit is that, he stayed diligent. And that is, protecting that oil, because staying diligent would equivalent to, them spirits and will flee from that, right? Them spirits and will flee from that because you have that word within, right? It says, all the, until like, going back to verse 17, Salakia, it says, and the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua abideth forever. And now, coming down here in these last days, things getting more boisterous, prophecy being more fulfilled. So now we're supposed to be more likewise, more in the spirit, right? We don't want to be caught with our pants down, losing that wisdom, which ultimately is your salvation. Because if you don't have that oil, right, you wouldn't be delivered, because that time coming, and that oil goes into the understanding of these scriptures, right, and applying it to our daily lives, not just speaking it, but applying the infrastructure or the instructions given by Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. So this is Matthew chapter 25 and verses 1. It says, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And who is that bridegroom? Yahushua. It says, and the 5 of them were wise, and the 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. And that is why it will liken now presently, as the angel tell John in Revelation chapter 10 and verses 9. It says, and I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. Going into some of the things we're going to face, but nevertheless, that will even build us up spiritually, You understand? Which will represent that oil. They take oil to carry in the vessels, as said in Matthew 25. You understand? Which gonna have that complete understanding. So even if or even when that time come where afflictions or persecution comes our way, we stand and we take it cheerfully, as the scripture said in Isaiah chapter 33 and verses 6. It says, and wisdom and knowledge, because oil is a symbolization, right, of this understanding. That is why it was like in Matthew 25, Yahweh Shai was speaking. That is a parable. That oil represents this wisdom. So along the way, it's not 100 meter, but it's a marathon. You understand? And applying the things which we have learned along the way, right? As the scripture said, taking in the engrafted word which is able to save our souls. It says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and the strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is his treasure. So this is what going to ultimately allow us to go through these times. So that is why we ought to protect and stay diligent. You understand? And I'm speaking to myself firstly. Salakia. So I'll do it like this. So I want to go to Matthew. Salakia for that. I want to go to Matthew chapter 6 and verses 19. It says, lay not up for yourself treasures upon earth, where moth and rust do corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust do corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. It says, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And I want you to believe in the Lord. This is where your heart is going to be ultimately. You understand? You're going to eat that whole book. You're going to get more into living your life godlike, as the scripture said in Matthew chapter 5. It's alright if I could plug this in real quick. Matthew chapter 5 and verses 40. It says, be therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. And that perfect there goes into this understanding. Because in this fleshly body, we are unable to fulfill 100% of the law. That is why we are not saved by the law. We are saved in belief in Yahweh Shai, but in doing the things that pertain to righteousness, as the scripture says, he that doeth righteousness is righteous. So you want to protect that oil, because there are many diverse temptations coming here in these last days. Spirits coming on a different level. You understand? As the scripture said in Psalms 119. Right, Psalms chapter 119. Psalms 119 verse 105. This is going to be we guide. When different tests, when different trials come, this is what going to be we guide. Like brothers could often testify to this. You end up in a situation, when scriptures flow through your mind. Like, hey, the Lord say, no, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, And that was just a test to see, So there's Psalms 119 verse 105. It says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. There's what the word is. The word is our guide. And the word is also a refiner, taking away the impurities out of us. You understand? Getting that perfect understanding carry us through different trials. That is why, the five virgins who were wise, they take oil for that journey, understanding the condition of the battle. Because it's not an easy battle. Mortifying these members, you understand, putting this flesh to death, involving yourself heavily more in spiritual things. That is protecting that oil. Because you don't want your oil to be taken away. Because if your oil be taken away, ultimately you're condemned. If your oil taken away, you're condemned. Understand? Because the scripture said it in Matthew 25. It says, verse 2, it says, and the 5 of them were wise. You understand? 5 of them were wise. As the scripture says, redeeming the time. You know, we're not time of bad days, evil. It's bad, evil, bad, similar, bad times. So now in this time, we had to be more in tune with the Lord. You understand? More closer to Him. The scripture say, draw nigh unto me, and I will draw nigh unto you. Open the door. In Revelation 3:20, it says, behold, I knock at the door. You understand? If every man open, I will come in and sup with him. You understand? All lies part of protecting the oil. That is His wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And just sticking to what have been taught. Not going off on your own and trying to create your own doctrine, but sticking to what was taught. So hopefully this was a quick one through the Spirit and power Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. Hopefully it was edifying to the elected nation of Israel. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Ruach HaKodesh.